Hi, my name's Daniel, and I'm here with Channeling the Cosmos, helping empaths transcend trauma. Sorry if you can hear the dog upstairs. And today I'm here to talk about addiction. So, as empaths, we definitely experience addiction. Everyone experiences addiction, but I think empaths in general are more susceptible to drug and alcohol use because obviously it blocks emotions. And if you're smoking weed or drinking or using drugs, you feel better and you feel less of what's going on around you. It's almost a shield in a sense. So what those drugs do is numb emotions. And that can be great because at certain times of your life, you might have needed that to survive. So the first thing I would say is if you were an empath with addiction, don't beat yourself up for doing it. You're doing the best you could in that moment. And if you might not have had those drugs, you might not have survived those times of your life and been here today. So everything unfolds in perfect timing. Don't beat yourself up for the past. Never helps. Never live with those regrets. You were doing the best you could in the moment. Or in this moment, if that's the case. Like, don't beat yourself up. It doesn't work. The issue, obviously, the problem is that it blocks emotions, so it blocks all the emotions. So it blocks the positive. You might feel positive for a second, but it's not real happiness. There's a difference between drug-induced excited happiness and real happiness. It's not, it feels different. If you ever experience being happy sober, it definitely feels different than happy on drugs. And I would know that because I've done drugs before. So wasn't an addict per se, but I've definitely used drugs to feel good. So that idea that it blocks emotions is important to know. And that's the problem. And the problem, because when we use drugs to block emotions, we also block our guidance system. So we don't just block the bad feelings, we block the good feelings, and we block our guidance of telling us what's the best decision. This is why people that are on drugs don't make great decisions. Because they aren't tapped into anything. Their brain is off. Hey, thanks for tuning in. I'm talking about addiction with empaths and how that addiction cycle just continues. And because we want to feel good. And what I've learned, hey, how's it going from working with addicts for 4 years, is that if you get yourself in a happier place, you just won't want to use the drugs. However that works. And it's obviously not that simple, and addiction's very ingrained in your brain, and it takes a while for that subconsciousness to unfold. But again, it's not about quitting and taking action. It's about creating more happiness and support in your life. And thanks for tuning in. We're talking about addiction with addicts and drug use and how, especially addicts, empaths use drugs to block emotions. And by creating a happier space, that problem just dissipates. It's really weird how that happens, but it is. We do it backwards. We think if we quit using drugs, then we'll be happier. When really we have to find happiness, so then we'll quit using the drugs. It's backwards. How we attack things in this society. We think action first, happiness later. Well, somehow the outcome of being sober will make us happier, which it probably will. However, you got to get happier first. And that's usually how people become sober. If something happens, they get a little happier, and they might get a job, and then they're like, I can use less. And that's what I've seen. So, but again, that problem of that addiction, if you can't, you need help to find that happiness. I mean, anyone that ever is going to quit any addiction needs help. And I say that over and over again, and I know that's true, but we all need help. I do. I need tons of help. I ask for help all the time when I need help with things. So that idea that we have to find a way to create that positive space, and then we move forward. And that's why, meditation, things like that are really great for addicts, because it creates a more positive mind space, which creates more sobriety. And we're addicted to so many things. That's the problem. We're addicted to TV. We're addicted to being miserable. People are very addicted to being miserable, and we're addicted to being victims. We're addicted to not using our power. We're addicted to staying small. We're addicted to a lot of things. And addiction is just a pattern that's run for a long period of time. So if you're a kid and you had to be small so your parents would get mad at you, it's because if you were a good boy or girl, they wouldn't yell, right? So you stayed small. then that pattern would increase in life, because that's a pattern you created in your mind and in your body system and your vibration. So that idea that we have all these addictions in us to patterns and things that we have to unwind. And the way we unwind those patterns is, just by looking at them, understanding them, and creating new pathways in our brain and our bodies that change the outlook of our life. And it's really important for that to happen. And we find that by going inward and looking at those patterns and understanding what needs to be shifted and what we want in our experience. And then we start using tools to create more happiness, so those patterns will change, because we see the opposite sides of the pattern. And that is so important to know. So that addiction, it's just that pattern running through your system over and over again. If it's a drug, if it's staying small, if it's watching TV, that pattern's just running. And it's running unconsciously. So the more conscious and aware you become, those patterns won't run so much, because you'll be so aware through these practices that help us become more mindful that these patterns won't just increase over and over again. This is why for addiction, mindfulness is a very, very evidence-based practice. It works. It just does. So that idea, the problem is just becoming more aware and not beating yourself up for the past. So the problem with addicts and empaths in general is we beat ourselves up. So what an empath will do is use a drug or addiction or TV or whatever. And what they do is then they beat themselves up for doing it. And because you beat yourself up for doing it, you feel like crap. So then you keep on doing it because you feel like crap, then the addiction makes you feel better. And that's the cycle. So if you just stop beating yourself up and feel better, then the cycle will stop. It's interesting. So that's that perpetual judgment and beating yourselves up and self-deprecation and self-sabotaging, which comes from a low self-worth and low self-confidence, which many empaths have, because honestly, they've been feeling emotions their whole lives, and they've been feeling the lack of self-confidence from everyone else, and they think it's their own, and they've taken it on. Because what our parents and people around us don't have confidence in, and they want to drill us down. And it just happens, and it's not anyone's fault. It's just a pattern of the collective. So knowing that, and then the addiction comes to feel better. So everyone's addicted to feel better. They think if when they use the meth, alcohol, whatever, heroin, they'll feel better, which is actually true. You will feel better. There's no denying that. But you want to create that feeling some natural way that doesn't have so much, consequences afterwards. And that's, especially with addicts is the case. You got to find that way to find that center without it before you're going to quit. Because it doesn't matter if you quit even for 3 months, you'll go back if you don't keep that pattern going. And that's okay too. It's okay to be addicted and okay to use drugs. And not okay, like I want you to do it, but like don't beat yourself up for it. Like most people have done it. It's not something we want to, that perpetual judgment is what we're wanting. It's not like there's a God up there saying, oh, you use drugs, I don't love you anymore. Like, that's not how it works. That's not how Source works. It's always sending you love no matter what you're doing. And it's not judging you. It's knowing you're doing your best you can in that moment to survive. And happiness is survival. So that's okay that you were seeking that out. However, that problem will persist, and it's not even about the addiction, it's about the centeredness in your own alignment with yourself and finding that center. The problem, it always comes back to that. It's never about the addiction, it's never about the relationships, it's never about, it's coming back to what is alignment, how do you feel good in you, and super confident, because when you're confident out there, then you set better boundaries, you feel better, everything reflects that newfound alignment and center. So the problem with addiction is a lack of a center and a lack of a consciousness of what's happening. And that's okay, because you weren't taught to do that. No one taught you how to find that. And especially with addiction, trauma is very interlinked. So usually trauma and addiction go together, as been studied. Addiction is more about trauma than it actually is about addiction. So we have to heal the trauma to stop the addiction. And that's okay. Again, you're using the drugs to survive, and it was holding space for you for a while. And you heal the trauma, this underneath that and look at that. And that's done, again, by creating that centered space. And then you can look at the trauma. So you have to have a centered space, then you look at the trauma. And that's the pattern, and that's how we heal. We don't go, let's heal the trauma, then we'll find the centered space. We get the centered space, then we heal the trauma. And that's with everything, centered space, then healing. And it's reframing it, because people think they want to seek healing so they'll feel better, but they have to feel better, and then the healing will come. Seems counterintuitive, but it's how the universe works. It's how health is improved, how everything's improved. It's how we make better decisions for us, is by finding our center. And I just want to make that really, really clear, that that's how I would help an addict or someone going through anything. Just, it works. It works way too well, to the point where I'm like, oh, there's no other way. And that's what I've learned over and over again. So yeah, if you're ready to heal your addiction, you're ready to expand. If it's relationship addictions, if it's drug addiction, if it's porn addiction, whatever it is, doesn't matter. I wouldn't judge it. You're doing the best you could in that moment. I'm here to help. I know it works, and I want to get you out of it. And I want you to feel better than you ever felt before, because that's why we're here. And that's what I want for everyone. So I'm here to help. Reach out. Send me a message on Facebook, and I hope you have a beautiful Tuesday, even though Tuesday is usually the least happy day, but I hope it's way amazing, more amazing than you thought. So thank you, and I'll see you next time.